So once again, it's one of those intros because quite literally we had Ahsoka, thank you, then we had Ahsoka drop bombshells about the child, or is he now known as the child? That's another question. And then, if that wasn't enough, we had a Thrawn reference, and we just actually got quite a lot of information, and I need to talk about this with you right this second. How's it going, my fellow Mandalorians? Welcome to my Chapter 13, the Jedi review and breakdown. We've got quite a bit to unpack today, so I'm going to try and really just talk about my impressions of Ahsoka, the main stuff that we learned, and what that means for just Star Wars moving forward, and not only The Mandalorian, because there was lots of references that we can now dive into a little bit more with our speculation about what's going on with Ezra, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Like, it's pretty crazy, so I'm going to get straight into this one today. I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below, but first of all, let's talk about those first impressions from that scene with Ahsoka. I didn't necessarily think they would open the episode that quickly with her, but also another thing that I want to visit a little bit later, where the hell was Moff Gideon? I'm not saying he had to be in this episode, but he definitely missed out on a very, very big opportunity of two Force users, which is what I thought the whole ending of the last episode was kind of hinting at, that he would do a little bit of an abduction with maybe Ahsoka sacrificing herself for Din Djarin and Baby Yoda's escape. But the beginning, with Ahsoka and her dual lightsabers fighting off some of those enemies from beyond the wall in the town. Wow, she was literally engulfing her enemies like a predator and then disappearing in the foggy smoke as if she was smoke herself. That was just absolutely impeccable. The portrayal of not only just this kind of mystery sorceress Jedi, even though she's not a Jedi, but you know, just for lack of a better term here, it was legendary, it was mythic, and that's what he wanted to get across. And from that very get-go of the episode, I didn't forget it, because I was really intrigued as to what Ahsoka wanted to know, because she says, then you know what I want, and the magistrate was like, you will learn nothing from me, and how many lives is the knowledge I possess worth to you? And that knowledge is about Grand Admiral Thrawn. So like, we've literally not only had the introduction and debut of Ahsoka Tano in live action Star Wars, we've now got the name drop of Thrawn. Will we ever see Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action? That is another thing, but yeah, I gotta talk about that later. I think Rosario Dawson looks absolutely incredible as Ahsoka Tano. Now, I know there's a couple of mixed opinions, even if, and on the other side of the mixed opinion, people were like, okay, she looks amazing, her stance with the lightsabers was just on point, but maybe her acting was a bit kind of blunt, maybe wooden. One thing I do want to say about that in this episode is that I didn't have a problem with that, but I did notice it. I was thinking, okay, she's good, she looks perfect, but what am I detecting here? But I honestly, and this isn't an excuse for like a lack of acting to the character that we've known through Clone Wars and Rebels from Ahsoka, I think Rosario was just portraying. Think about all that Ahsoka's been through. I really don't think this is an excuse. If anything, it's very logical acting to approach the character, and I'll talk about some of the other things in just a second where I think that she nailed it. Ahsoka's been through a shite ton. The Clone Wars, she's been through Star Wars Rebels. She's now, like, she's alone. She's been through the stuff with Anakin, Darth Vader, the duel. Like, she's been through a lot. And so this kind of somewhat held back acting or portrayal, if you will, not as quirky as in her youthful days, makes sense, don't you think? I do feel like she was a bit blunt, but that's because she's apprehensive. Without me repeating myself too much and just describing the same things with different words, you guys know what I'm trying to get at. She's not who she once was because she isn't that person anymore. Yet we did, what I really liked about Rosario Dawson's portrayal is we did see the young Ahsoka kind of parts slip through the cracks. Like, for example, just jumping to the fight with Mando in their first introduction. I love where she got captured with his like little grapple hook thing, and then she looked up, saw the branch that she could jump over, and there was that little smile. Like, that is very Ahsoka. So I love the fact that they included those little bleed through effects of the more quirky Ahsoka Tano, but also the modern day, much older, much more veteran, battle-worn almost, and just also trauma-worn Ahsoka that Rosario Dawson played. I'm literally just remembering things as I'm going along. Like, she mentioned Tython as well. I've got so many things, so make sure you please stick around for all of this video, because there's a lot for us to discuss, and I really want the Star Wars fans from behind that lens to have a proper conversation about some of the things that we learned in this episode and some of the theories that I'll dish out to you in just a little bit. But anyway, back on point, Mando and Baby Yoda arrive to Corvus. Now the town opened the gate for Mando and they recognize him as a hunter, and even with the guild, and he asks some people for information, but everyone is severely oppressed. Like, you can't do anything. It's like people living in fear for their lives. Like the magistrate, like, and what we learn about her is really cool, but she's running like, God, she's like the worst of the worst. The worst. Somewhat one of the worst, especially considering who her boss is. Anyway, amongst entering the town, the magistrate requests Mando's presence. And wow, I loved seeing those citizens. This kind of sounds messed up. I loved seeing these people get tortured. But I don't know if I've seen it anywhere else in Star Wars apart from one other place, the Old Republic. Yet again, I not sound like one of those cliche, oh my god, an Old Republic reference, but seriously, I'm a huge fan of the Old Republic. We had the Crate Dragon, and I love how Filoni and Favreau are kind of borrowing little kind of cool things like that. Moving swiftly onwards, it's quite simple here. Magistrate wants the Mandalorian. She says, a Jedi plagues me, I want you to kill her. And I did find it interesting how she was like, oh, you know, that shouldn't be hard for you or whatever. The Jedi are ancient enemies of Mandalore. It's funny how she knew that, but Mando himself didn't. Still a bit weird with that one. But then again, I don't blame her for knowing it, because there was, if you think about her certain boss, Grand Admiral Thrawn, what did he like to do? Collect certain artifacts, historical things. Thrawn was so into that, so I'm not surprised that maybe a person serving under him would know about the ancient ways of the Mandalorian and the history of them and the Jedi and how they were at each other's throats. But yeah, Mando, like himself, Din Djarin shit, that there's still some plot holes with that one in terms of how he doesn't know this, that, and the other about certain things. She presents him with this pure Beskar spear as a reward, and yeah, Mando asks where to find this Jedi. Obviously, that is just what he wanted, because he doesn't want to kill her, but he just wants to, you know, find her so he can ask about the child, maybe even drop off the child to child daycare. Also, I just love how, like, there's a badass scene where he's walking off into the distance. You know, the guard is, you know, just looking at him, and Mando's just looking, you know, as I said, badass. He says that the child is there for good luck, and then you just hear a little Patu. Also, I'm not even joking. From my last week's Mandalorian review, I talked about the Patu word from Baby Yoda. Some of you pointed out, and I agree, it might be a word for delicious, because he keeps repeating it when he has some food or anything like that. But somehow, that clip that I used of him saying Patu has ended up in every single video I've done since my last week's Mandalorian review. Oh, I'm gonna stop repeating myself now, but that was bag combined with, I have no idea how. I'm not even using the same project settings or even the same project, yet Baby Yoda keeps cameoing in my videos. So if you see him, I don't know how he gets in there, but it does. But I'm not complaining. At this point, Mando goes looking for Ahsoka in the wilds. He places Baby Yoda down, and that's when Ahsoka comes down hard on Mando. Like, both are lightsabers, no questions asked. I kind of had a little bit of an issue with that. I know some people are going to say she's literally being hunted, so why wouldn't she just attack first? I know what you mean, but like, if she scouted him out, which she would have beforehand, she would have been able to tell that's a Mandalorian. I would have thought that maybe she would have, you know, since she has some ties with Bo-Katan and stuff, she would try and ask something first instead of decapitating. I don't know, maybe a little bit of a nitpick there, but it's just something I thought I'd bring up whilst I could. I love seeing Beskar completely reflect lightsabers, because, you know, this really just does say and tells a lot of people who don't know much about the ancient Mandalorian wars that they could stand toe-to-toe, because Beskar, bang, like deflects. Yeah, that was awesome. Loved the flamethrower effect and how that engulfed, the cloak engulfed the flame. I've already mentioned how, you know, she breaks the kind of serious toned character to let out that little cheeky Ahsoka that we knew from when she was younger, where she just jumped up. And this is where it kind of time skips to the evening, where she was sat down with the child, all quiet, as if trying to kind of introspectively connect, and that is exactly what she was doing. So since they're both Force users, it's not like they're having a flat-out conversation in their minds, but as she says herself, that they can feel each other's thoughts. And not only in that response did she say that, she says, Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts. Grogu is, like, I like it, but also it's really weird because we're not going to be saying Baby Yoda anymore. Like, it's going to be so weird saying Grogu now. Grogu is the name of the kid. Grogu. And also, can we please just all agree how adorable it is? Every single time Grogu was said, he was like, ooh. Literally. It was so adorable. But also that first one when Din Djarin himself, the Mandalorian, says Grogu like Baby Yoda's name for the first time. It was a bit more of like a affectionate, like, come to attention, because it's like, oh, Dad's saying my name for the first time. But the revelations that we learn about baby Grogu, it's insane. And I also just love the familiarity in Ahsoka's eyes, because she's seen others of his kind before, obviously Grandmaster Yoda. Like, so this is where we're getting into the stuff we learned. And wow. And don't forget that Baby Yoda is like 50, now maybe almost 51, whatever. So this goes back before the great rise of the Galactic Empire and before Order 66. Like, this poor child, even when he was even more of a wiener, little wiener, whatever you want, he lived through that. And it's actually really sad. Can you imagine Baby Yoda flashbacks now, like in Fallen Order? You get flashbacks to Cal Kestis. Imagine like Baby Yoda just seeing all this, like maybe he was in the room when Anakin with the whole Master Skywalker, there's too many of them, what are we going to do? Maybe Baby Yoda just kind of like floated his way out of there, I don't know. But either way, we learn that he was raised in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. So he was literally there, like in the prequels, whatever, like Baby Yoda's somewhere in the background. Or should I say Grogu? God damn it, I need to get used to that. Ahsoka goes on to explain that many masters trained him over the years, like many Jedi masters. So like that could have obviously included Yoda, because we saw him training many younglings and things like that. We could have had Windu train it, like many masters. So like probably many masters on the council as well. And at the end of the Clone Wars, when the Empire rose to power, he was hidden. Someone took him from the temple, then his memory becomes dark. He seems lost, alone, and she's only known one other being like this, a wise Jedi Master named Yoda. When Mando asks if he could still wield the Force, she says that the Force is what gives him his powers. It's an energy field, very Ben Kenobi here, created by all living things. To wield, it takes a great deal of training and discipline. But Mando is insistent that he needs your help. She says, I'll test him in the morning. And I know some people are probably thinking, because a lot of people are of the a correct standpoint, that she isn't a Jedi, and I think some people wanted her to say, like, especially when the Magistrate says Jedi or whatever, she could have said, I'm no Jedi, and that would have been a really cool, powerful kind of moment. But it was still articulated in other ways. Never once did she align herself with the Jedi. When the Jedi was brought up in conversation, like when I'm bringing, like what I just brought up, she referred to the Jedi having fallen long ago, and that she isn't of that. And at the end, she refers to, like, a Jedi may come for Baby Yoda if he calls out through the Force kind of thing. She doesn't refer to herself. So it's like they're acknowledging that part for the fans, but I think there's still the mass audience who would still associate Ahsoka with a Jedi, and to not overcomplicate things kind of thing, that she's not going to be like, oh, I'm not a Jedi. That would just confuse, like, the very much so normie general audience members, because, well, she's holding two lightsabers, she looks like a Jedi, but in other subtle ways, she never once basically said, I'm a Jedi. Like, she distanced herself from that. So they were still being true to Ahsoka's character. It was absolutely adorable trying to see Baby Yoda float the rock, and he wouldn't do it for Ahsoka. It actually just dropped on the floor. But it was so significant getting Mando, like Din Djarin involved in that, because, and she knew. So he got the little ball from the Razor Crest to get Grogu to do it, to see if he listens to him instead. And so in this moment, Baby Yoda takes it, and this was like such a proud father moment. Like, Mando was like, I knew you could do it, kid. And it's just, you know, it's like they're inseparable. Ahsoka knows it. That was another reason also as to why she didn't want to take him. She raises a very good point I'm about to speak about. It's like he belongs with the Mando. Be a hybrid Mandalorian / Force user if you want, but like, don't let me take him. Like, he belongs with you. I feel like that's the stance they kind of got to go with. I don't think his abilities are going to fade, because that was mentioned as well. But the reason why she also said that she didn't want to train him because he's formed such a strong attachment to Din Djarin, she says that his attachment to you makes him vulnerable to fears, his anger. Mando's just like, all the more reason to train him, but she's like, no, I've seen what such feelings can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight. To the best of us, I will not start this child down that path. Better to let his abilities fade. Obviously, in that moment, she's referring to Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, who was her master. I don't really need to explain this to a lot of people out there, because this is why this episode was so huge for many people. But once again, that pain, that tragedy, that trauma of the past is obviously what now accounts for her kind of more serious and weathered demeanor, just to lightly get back into that again. But it's also another really cool reference to her revelation, finding out that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader in their duel in Rebels and stuff. It was awesome. In a typical Jedi kind of point of view, not that she is a Jedi, but this is kind of I guess like a Force point of view. Baby Yoda's got feelings. He's 50 years old, even though he's still a child, so he arguably could maybe be on the fine line of training like Anakin kind of was. Those fears and attachments to Mando now could make him use his powers for the dark side of the Force in a certain situation rather than resisting that and using a light side of the Force power to get him out of whatever situation. One example, when he literally used Force choke to choke Cara Dune and stuff like that. You get my point. Even though you could argue you can mix and dabble with both sides of the Force, Luke Skywalker literally Force choked some Gamorreans in Jabba the Hutt's palace in episode 6. Like, it's kind of here or there. It's like, this is where we get into complicated field. However, this part was a little bit unclear because it's like they cut some parts off of it. Maybe because it just would have come out weird, because he was just like, I'll offer to help you with your issue with the town if you train the kid, and she just smiles. And, like, it cuts to him helping her out. But I feel like if they would have carried on that scene, they had literally just spoken about how I can't train the kid. I'm not going to let that happen. His attachment to you, la-di-da-da, dark side. So it's like he says, I'll help you out. And she would have just reiterated, no, I'm not going to train him. But just for the sake of the episode to carry on and I guess help her out with the town problem, she just was like, okay, I don't know, another nitpick, but it's true, right? Anyway, towards the end of the episode now, Mando tells Ahsoka the ins and outs of the Magistrate's base, and she also gives a little bit of detail about the Magistrate known as Morgan Elspeth. During the Clone Wars, her people were massacred, she survived and let her anger fuel an industry that helped build the Imperial Starfleet. She plundered worlds, destroying them in the process, and I love this line that Mando literally just said next. A Mandalorian and a Jedi, they'd never see it coming. The action in this episode was really, really good. I love how they really captured Ahsoka's lightsaber form perfectly. Right at the beginning of this, Ahsoka runs up the town walls. Like, walls don't matter. Like, in terms of a siege, if you're a Jedi, you run up them. She throws down Mando's pauldron, pretending that he failed. And yet again, reiterating this important information that we still haven't known all episode at this point, she says, tell me what I want to know. Where is your master? And one thought I had at this moment is like, oh, who is it? Like Moff Gideon? Like, that would be interesting, because funnily enough, I was expecting, even if it was in the last 2 minutes after this, that Moff Gideon would turn up to her front doorstep and be after her. Like, in my mind, Moff Gideon wants Force users for their M count, for the blood, to bring about the clones. You get where I'm going with that. So I thought maybe she's after Moff Gideon, ironically, who is tracking Mando to this very planet. But Mando comes in, saves the people from getting executed. Ahsoka picks off the soldiers one by one who were sent after her. Yet again, the stealth is like Predator. A lot of Alien and Predator references, I feel, in this season 2 of Mandalorian. Like, Dave and Jon Favreau are big fans, I can tell. Just some of the poses as well, like such fan service in such a good way. Like when she was just being stealthy or just opening up the lightsabers interconnected already. Like, could you just imagine if that went wrong and one just went for a wrist? Like, oh crap, I was trying to be cool and lighting it up and executing you, but I just kind of burnt myself. Either way, Ahsoka one-on-one with the Magistrate. I think some people have a bit of an issue. Like, how can Ahsoka Tano, who faced off against Darth Vader and other very formidable opponents, struggle just a little bit with the Magistrate? I don't think it was like that. She wanted to keep the Magistrate alive because she wants to know where Grand Admiral Thrawn is. So the reason why she wasn't going full-on ham in killing mode, because she wasn't looking to kill the lady. She was trying to disarm her and interrogate her afterwards, I guess. Either way, at the end, she got her by the neck, and this is where she says it. Where is your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? I lost it at that moment. I mean, at the beginning of the episode, I was so tempted to record my reaction. My jaw dropped when I saw her. But at this moment, once again, hearing Grand Admiral Thrawn being referenced again, well, for the first time in live action like this is incredible. But also, it just shows where things are at still. She still hasn't found Ezra, because I'm guessing she's looking for Thrawn. Not only to, like, I guess, get Thrawn, but also she is looking for Ezra, as we know at the end of Star Wars Rebels. Where's Sabine? I do not know, because they went looking for them together. Either way, she's still going and being faithful to her quest. She's got a quest of her own ever since that ending that you all saw, where she's looking for Ezra and Grand Admiral Thrawn after where they went at the end of Rebels. Just trying to stop some spoilers there, just in case some people somehow still haven't seen it. But it looks like she's not had any luck up until getting this close to be right next to the person who's under Grand Admiral Thrawn. And apparently, she's got the opinion that she knows where he is. Do you know what I mean? It seems that Ahsoka was pretty sure that this lady knew where her master was, which means if she knows where her master was, that he would be with Ezra Bridger, and hopefully Ezra can be found. And that also makes me kind of link to what she said to Mando at the end, with a Jedi coming to answer the call, Who would that be? Would it be Ezra? We'll revisit that in just a second. At this point, Ahsoka gives Mando the Beskar spear. He says, wait here, I'll go get the child. Baby Yoda was asleep in the Razor Crest. This part really kind of got to me because he was like, wake up, buddy, it's time to say goodbye. And they almost did like a little fade transition scene as if, you know, some time went past. Then some time did, because he was like sitting there kind of staring at the floor, not wanting to do this. And I really felt that. It was so simple. Literally like, what, 8 seconds in those two scenes? But like, he didn't want to do it, and Baby Yoda was so tired as well. But, you know, because some time passed, Ahsoka was already outside, and she points out, saying, you're like a father to him. I cannot train him. And yet again, back to my point earlier, she was like, but you made me a promise, and I held up my end. So that's why that scene was cut, just because it wouldn't have worked as well, like, if you think about it, because she wasn't going to train him no matter what. But this is where she said something else pretty revelationary in terms of, like, grander Star Wars things, because she really brought about attention to Tython. Tython! I remember going to Tython in Star Wars The Old Republic. Like, that was actually the Jedi homeworld. Like, there's a lot of Jedi lore to it, but it's going to be so cool going to a live action Tython, because this is where Ahsoka said, go to the planet Tython, there you will find the ancient ruins of a temple that has a strong connection to the Force. Place Grogu on the Seeing Stone at the top of the mountain, then Grogu may choose his path. If he reaches out through the Force, there's a chance a Jedi may sense his presence and come searching for him. Then again, there aren't many Jedi left. So she's acknowledging there are Jedi left. And also, this is my point back to earlier in how she didn't, like, through her language use there, she didn't count herself amongst those Jedi. This is really important. So they're going to Tython, a planet with rich Jedi history. It's interesting to see what they're going to do with that in canon, because in expanded stuff, there's, like, even more. I feel like there's a lot more Jedi concentrated dosage stuff on that planet. But the whole idea is that once he's placed on the Seeing Stone at the top of the mountain of the ancient Jedi temple, if he chooses to reach out through the Force, it will send this almost Force beacon out. There's not really much of an empire at the minute. They're crushed, so like, I guess that's why she's advertising to reach out. It's not like there's going to be a Jedi purge with Vader trying to listen out for these little Force echoes as well. So the possibilities of the Jedi remaining, this could be a whole separate video. Obviously, Luke Skywalker is out there. I don't know if they're going to do that. I've got another thought about Luke in a second as well. Cal Kestis, he could answer the call, and also Ezra Bridger. And Ezra is obviously, I'm not saying the child or Grogu is an animal, but like I feel like he would be quite adaptive and receptive to looking after Grogu. Of course, like Mando is himself, but if you're going to do a Jedi, I feel like Ezra would be better over Cal from Jedi Fallen Order. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And as for Luke Skywalker, well, that's just a whole other, almost self-explanatory thing. I'm not saying that they're not going to do it, but you can understand the reasons as to why they might not put a younger Luke in this series. However, I wouldn't be surprised at the least if when they go to Tython, to this ancient Jedi temple, that since at this point in time, this is several years after the return of the Jedi events, Luke Skywalker had already been there, done that with this ancient temple on Tython, and we might get maybe a note, some kind of scrambling, some kind of sign that Luke Skywalker had already been there, learning about the ancient Jedi's past. So, you know, because that's what he did. Before he started up his academy, he was going out and about backpacking, really, sucking up all the knowledge he can about Jedi. So it'd be super epic if we got a reference to Luke having been there. But let me know what you think about the possible, well, the few Jedi left that Ahsoka was referencing. Because not including her, there's Luke Skywalker, Cal Kestis, Ezra Bridger. Who am I forgetting? We also know that Ahsoka asked, where is your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? It cut. We didn't get an answer. Did she get an answer? If she did, then maybe Ezra's kind of way out to the galaxy again could finally be here. We're gonna... There's a lot of potential with this in live-action Star Wars in the future. Either way, though, guys, I know this was a bit of a longer review, but I hope you enjoyed it. I was thoroughly impressed by seeing Ahsoka Tano in live-action. It was a nice, small dose. It's left me wanting more, which is a good thing, because I didn't expect it to end the way it did, with her just smiling, walking off. She saved the town, and I'm guessing she's gonna, like, pursue the latest bit of intel she's got on Grand Admiral Thrawn's whereabouts, because you have to think they cut it for a reason. But obviously, I'm absolutely dying to know your thoughts. What do you think of the child now having a name? Grogu? Do you like it? I think Grogu suits him, especially with those little cute responses he gave. But like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're brand new for more Mandalorian reviews and breakdowns just like this. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And may the Force be with you always.